Welcome into the UIndy Studios NFL Draft Preview Show. My name is Jace Hodge alongside Nate Long. Today we're going to be going through the top 10 teams. We'll get to the top 11 through 20 next week, and then so on, so forth. We'll begin today's conversation with the Las Vegas Raiders, who obviously have the first overall pick, being the worst team in the NFL last year. Most people think they know where they're going. Right now, it's Mendoza, and Mendoza seems to be the pick for the Raiders. Do you think that's the right pick, and what's your thoughts on Mendoza?
Well, you look at the Raiders team, the Raider franchise, it's awful. It's been awful. It's been awful for years. You look at the teams in the division, the Broncos just made it to the AFC Championship game. The Chiefs are just, they missed it last year, but they're going to be right back. Patrick Mahomes is coming back. Travis Kelce's coming back. They just signed Kenneth Walker. I mean, that division is so good, and the Raiders are just at the bottom of it. They're missing a lot of pieces. They have a couple, Brock Bowers is tied in, Ashton Genty, the running back. They got some pieces. Just signed Tyler Lindenbaum as well from the Ravens, but there's so many pieces away. Defensively, they get back Max Crosby, but I think they need secondary help. I think they still need line help. Obviously, Geno Smith is gone, so the quarterback is definitely something they also need. So for what they have in this draft and the possible choices, I think Fernando Mendoza is the pick. Nothing to take away from the guy. He is a national champion. He is a Heisman-winning trophy winner. I just don't know if he's going to be able to carry a Raiders team, and I think it's going to be kind of like a Sam Darnold, or something where he's just put in right away to a situation, and he's not going to work out, and he's going to be bouncing around. Do I think he could still do something later in his career? For sure, but that situation is not a situation anybody wants to be in.
Yeah, the Raiders haven't exactly been picture perfect of an NFL team in the last 15, 20 years. Obviously now they have Tom Brady as part of the ownership staff. Maybe they can get it turned around there, and with Tom Brady maybe coaching up Mendoza, that could certainly help. And I have seen the Raiders kind of hint at possibly bringing in a veteran quarterback and starting him over Mendoza in the first season to get Mendoza some of that, sitting behind, getting experience. What are your thoughts on that, and not starting a first overall pick in the first season?
I think that is the best choice for the Raiders organization, because we saw what Fernando Mendoza did at Cal. And you know what he did? Not much, right?
Yeah.
Didn't have a lot of talent around him, so not completely his fault, but he wasn't at the top level. IU had, just a lot of guys who had a lot of playing time, really. A lot of fifth-year seniors, a lot of guys who've played at the highest level over either as JMU or just transfers in. A lot of guys who had the opportunity to play, and it was a great team altogether. That's why they won, and that's why he was a Heisman Trophy winner. But when he doesn't have a ton of talent, a lot of blocking around him, I worry about just the defensive ends and the edge pressure that basically they haven't had any protection. Myles Garrett ate up Geno Smith in that game with the Browns.
This is what I wrote down. I wrote down, you need to surround Mendoza in later rounds with offensive line protection.
100%.
He needs to be protected because you don't want to get your first overall pick killed in the first season.
Yeah. And, Tyler Lindenbaum is a great add to your team.
100%.
Overpay for him? Who cares? Because he is just the center. He is the guy who's going to help everybody going, but he's 1 of 5. I still think you have question marks. The other 3, maybe even 4 guys at the offensive line position for the Raiders. So I think that Fernando Mendoza, he's the guy you're going to see taking number 1. I would love if they got somebody to come in to kind of be the bridge quarterback. A year, maybe even 2. It just depends on how well this draft goes and how well they can hit another free agency.
Let's act like a bridge quarterback and go from Las Vegas to the New York Jets, who are sitting at number 2, and once again a top 5 pick for the New York Jets. They also have pick 16 via the Indianapolis Colts, so 2 high picks for this Jets team. But at number 2, what are you thinking for them?
So you have the bridge quarterback there. You're not going to take Ty Simpson, number 2
high.
overall. Could you trade back and get some valuable assets?
But there's some pretty good edge talent here.
There is, and that's why I personally think the Jets should trade back. Because I think there's enough talent in the class, either linebacking or edge, that you can get your guy later on. I don't know exactly, maybe this is a Titans going up, a Giants going up for the guy they really love, but I don't know if the Jets are too many pieces away. Where they could really use? Like an all-pro corner and all-pro defensive tackle.
Wonder where those two guys went. Maybe they were traded. Just maybe.
Maybe they were traded, right? So, they are so many pieces away offensively. I don't love what they have going. Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, obviously great. The quarterback position is what wins games. And right now, Geno Smith.
Yeah, but to me, if there's a guy like Arvell Reese right there, the linebacker,
yes.
I think it would be a reasonable pick because they need help defensively. They need guys, obviously, because they traded them all away last offseason or last trade deadline. They need some guys defensively, like a linebacker, an edge rusher that can fill in those gaps. I think Arvell Reese is the guy who's kind of been said the most here at number 2, and I think that would be the fit.
I think he is. I mean, he's a guy that, linebacker. Slash, edge, he's going to be kind of that, I don't know, maybe the TJ Watt kind of role, I assume, in the NFL. Great pass rush, speed, 6.5 sacks, 70 tackles or so, really good in coverage. I mean, a guy who can really do it all. He's the reason he went to Ohio State, the reason why he balled out at Ohio State. He is a top-end talent, and you were right. The Jets would be, they would be happy to take him. I just think they could get more value, especially at number 2. Sort of like what the Browns did, even though I disliked who they picked in Mason Graham last season, something like that, because they're just too many pieces away from competing.
Yeah. Back over the West Coast now in the Arizona Cardinals, obviously the Kyler Murray era days are done. And for the Cardinals, quarterback isn't really the move. They have Jacoby Brissett and Gardner Minshew, 2 mediocre backup quarterbacks, both of them former Colts, by the way, which is kind of weird to see them both on the team together.
Yeah.
But, for the Cardinals, offensive line seems to be a pretty big need.
Yeah, it's going to have to be the offensive line, I think. There's a couple guys that I've been looking at that, could be that spot. One of the dark horses that no one's really talking about but is an incredible athlete is Proctor out of Alabama.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a guy that you could see go this high or he could drop. He has question marks on the weight and can he be in playing shape. He was not very good to start the season. I think in the first 2 or 3 games, he came into camp heavy. He played, I think it was near 370, 380. And then, as the season went on, he dropped down to 360. So, he is a guy, if he can keep the weight under control, at a playing weight, he would be great. Obviously, Miami, offensive tackle Francis Mauigoa. I mean, he's going to be a guy who is, not the quickest guy, but he is one of the strongest guys in this draft. Once he gets his hands on you in the run, blocking, and then getting to linebackers, he is incredible. The only thing that he lacks a little bit is, he's just not the greatest at pass protection. Like I said, kind of a slow feet, so you see him kind of lose maybe a step or two against one of those speed rushers. Him is another one, and then also Spencer Fano out of Utah.
Yep.
That's another one I'm looking at. The question with Spencer Fano is 3-year starter at tackle, 1 year at left tackle his freshman year, last 2 at right tackle. The question is, can he play tackle in the NFL? 32 and something inch arms, not really, he's got all the measurables. The arms is the only question mark. So do you draft an offensive guard that high? That's the question. So if you're looking at just a tackle, I think one of those 2 guys I mentioned, either out of Miami or out of Utah, or not out of Utah, out of Alabama, those are 2 top guys I would see the Cardinals taking.
And the Cardinals do indeed need a right tackle pretty badly as well. Over to the AFC again, and the Tennessee Titans at number 4. Obviously, they got Cam Ward last season at number 1 overall.
Yep.
Now at number 4, after a year under their belt with Cam Ward, they could use some offense to go alongside him, some offensive line to protect him, maybe a playmaker or 2.
Yeah, so when you say playmaker, we'll talk about this guy probably the next couple of minutes as well, Jeremiah Love.
Yep.
Jeremiah Love is one of the best players in this draft, but it's a running back, right? And you know how the running back position goes in the NFL. I know I'll let you talk for a couple minutes on Jeremiah Love. I think he's a great fit for the Titans, but as a big Notre Dame fan as yourself is, just tell us a little bit about what he means to the team and what he can mean to a team.
He is a demonic athlete. He is athletic, and if he can stay healthy, which he had some injury problems last season or 2 on and off, if he can stay healthy, he is going to be a top 5 running back in this NFL. Go watch some film on him and watch how many times he hurdles guys and how high he gets in the air and how fast he is with that first burst out of the gap. The dude's insane with that first burst. Go back to the IU game in the playoffs 2 years ago where he just burst through the gap with 98 yards to the house. No one caught him. And his hurdles, man, don't even start him on hurdles. This dude was probably a Heisman winner on some seasons with the games he put up. this year with the Irish, and if he had a chance to make the playoffs, I think that he could have done pretty well as well. But he's going to be a top 5 NFL running back if he can stay healthy. And honestly, he's deserving of a top 10 pick. And I think Titans is the first one that I could see him going to, but I don't think the Titans would spend on a running back at number 4.
Well, you also got to think of new kind of ownership, not ownership, but ownership in the team. New head coach Robert Saleh, and defensive-minded guy. Had some time with the Jets, didn't work out. Went back, a great defensive coordinator for the 49ers, like one of the best.
Oh, 100%.
So defense also comes out. You got like David Bailey, also is a guy. Ruben Bain. One of those two guys is also, if you look in defense, I don't see him taking Caleb Downs here. I don't
think it's too early for Downs.
I think Downs falls, and just because of the kind of the same reason with running backs, just the priority of the position.
I agree. I mean, Downs to me was a consensus and is a consensus top 5 athlete in this draft.
100%.
But I don't think safety is a big need in the NFL right now. I don't think a lot of these top 5, top 6 teams need a safety badly, so they're going to go more of the edge guys, more of the playmaking guys. And it's going to be a similar story with the Giants, probably. The Giants, I could see them taking Downs. They could use some secondary, but I think, once again, they need to build in the trenches right now.
I think it's offensive line for them as well. And we mentioned the 3 guys. Those are, I think, going to be the 3 guys taken. Personally, I just think that the Proctor's upside's really great. I'm guessing Cardinals are going to take the tackle out of Miami. It'd be my guess, Francis Managoa. But, Fano's up there. He's really good. I just don't know where else they go. I mean, I've seen some Jeremiah Love talk, but you have Cam Scatterby, you have Tyrone Chase, you have Devin Singletary, right?
I was thinking, they could use another receiver. And this is where I could see a Carnell Tate. Obviously, maybe a little early for a guy like him.
Yeah, I think.
But the Giants,
he's great.
We know the Giants. They love to take risky picks. With Jackson Dart last year in the first round, we know they love to hop up and take something a little risky.
I don't disagree. Yeah, Jackson Dart. You have Cam Scatterby. Do you want a little duo, Love Scatterby?
I wouldn't see it happening.
I don't think it happens either. And you said Carnell Tate. I'm not as high on Carnell Tate, I think, as others. I'm more of a Mekhi Lemon guy out of USC. He's getting a lot of praise to the Amon St. Brown.
Yeah.
Kind of that build. I would take him, him, Lemon, and Neighbors together on a team. That would be something. But I think Coach John Harbaugh, he knows how to build a team, and I think he's going to go offensive line. I think Fano goes here.
I could see it. Let's move over to your team now. The Cleveland Browns sitting at number 6. Once again, a playoff-less season for the team out of Cleveland.
Yeah.
What do you think your team's going to go right now? Obviously, added a lot of offensive line in free agency with 3 offensive linemen.
Well, we lost everybody.
Well, yeah. Do you continue to address the O-line, or do you fall somewhere else?
Well, I think the biggest question for us right now is quarterback. Quarterback is the biggest question.
But you wouldn't go Ty Simpson, right?
That's what I'll get in there. Too early for Ty Simpson. You have a quarterback battle this offseason going to be Deshaun Watson and Shadur Sanders.
Electric stuff.
Electric. Deshaun Watson's still on the team. He's still getting paid, his $230
Dylan Gabriel.
million.
Electric.
Dylan Gabriel, I don't know why we drafted him 3rd round, personally. The height was the biggest question.
Completely blunt, that might be the worst 3 quarterbacks I've ever heard out of a quarterback competition.
Cardinals may be up there too, though.
I would value Jacoby Brissett and Minshew over those 3 guys.
To each their own, right?
Yeah.
But like you said, one thing. Sorry, I don't know if you mentioned it yet, but one thing that the Browns do have going for them is the defense.
Yes.
I mean, you get Schweisinger out of UCLA.
Man, I wanted the Colts to get him so bad last year.
He is so good.
I knew that he was so good.
Linebacker. Myles Garrett broke the single-season sack record. He did great. Mason Graham fulfilled roles. They have Signer. They have Denzel Ward. They have these pieces defensively. Offense is a question mark. You have kind of the rookie running backs and Judkins. Judkins is really good when he stays healthy.
Yes, he is.
Wide receiver, the best one is Jerry Jeudy. I see them taking a wide receiver here.
Yep.
I think it's Lemon. I think he's better than Tate, and I think Lemon is the guy that they need to go with for the Cleveland Browns.
I think Tate's the higher valued receiver by most teams right now, so I'd be kind of surprised to see Lemon go over Tate, honestly.
I'm just personally higher. I would like more of this type of wide receiver other than, a guy like Tate. And Tate's great. Don't get me wrong. I think Tate's going top 15.
Yeah, 100%.
I just, as a Browns fan, I would want Lemon over Tate. And that's where I'm basing my opinion off on this certain take.
We'll move over to the Washington Commanders. Now, the Commanders obviously have a pretty good roster already. They added a lot on defense as well. They spent a lot on defense. They got Odafe Owe, Leo Chenal, Amika Robertson. They got a lot of new guys on defense that they spent. They went out and got their defense fixed up. So do they go to the offensive side now? Because they could use a receiver. They could use a running back. Obviously, they signed 2 running backs in free agency. So maybe Jeremiah Love isn't the pick here like I initially thought, but a receiver could be a use.
I'll be honest. I think this is where Caleb Downs goes. I think the Washington Commanders could just solidify that defense.
They already signed a safety this offseason with Nick Cross.
You can play 2, and that's what I was hoping. Like, you play kind of that dual safety look. Either if it's not Caleb Downs, I just think it's kind of one of those things. CeeDee Lamb a couple years ago with the Cowboys. Like, he's so good, you just
have to pick him.
You have to pick him. I don't think Caleb Downs can get this far and not be off the board. Could he go further? I said that he may drop a little bit because he is a top 5 talent.
Oh, 100%.
100%. I think this is maybe one of the ones that hey, you know what, we need him. I can see Jeremiah Love in this position as well.
I was thinking here, because they lost some secondary, they gained some secondary, but they could use a lockdown secondary guy. I mean, I'm going with Mansour Delane at LSU.
Yeah, he's really good. And, lockdown guy at LSU, like you mentioned. And I agree. I mean, I think secondary is something they need help with. I picked Downs just because he's such a good talent. But I know Delaney definitely is up there and could definitely be a guy taken in that position.
I'll move over to the New Orleans Saints. Obviously, they have been a big issue these last few seasons, and they just haven't got much in the way of talent. They signed Travis, I guess it's Achan now in the offseason. David Edwards, Noah Fant, some additions. They also lost some main guys. They lost their nickel corner, Nolante Taylor. They lost Mario Davis, the longtime Saint. So where do they address? Because they have a lot of issues right now.
There's a couple guys on my mind, and I'm looking defense for them as well. I think offense, they have the pieces. Chris Olave, you have the running backs, so you can kind of run a dual running back system.
Kamara.
Yeah, and so I'm looking at a guy who balled out at the NFL Combine. A guy who just jumped out of the building, Sonny Styles.
Yep, I knew exactly where you were going with that.
He is, I hate to put so much, merit on the NFL Combine because it's them without pads and them just running. But he is so explosive.
When you see a freak athlete like that, it's going to in some way translate to the NFL level. It's just not good. I mean, I wrote down any edge rusher for the New Orleans Saints.
And I mean, you got Bailey you could put in there. Bain we haven't really talked a lot about. Bain's the big thing about him.
Bain's a top 5 talent too. He's just slipping around.
He's just shorter, shorter arms, right? So. Bain, Bailey, or, in my opinion, I think Sonny Styles is the better choice for the Saints because I think he could be a guy for the next 12 years who can be a staple in your defense.
Let's go over to the Chiefs. The Chiefs obviously are going to be Mahomes' list for a little bit with torn ACL. Yeah. They signed Justin Fields, probably as a bridge quarterback until Mahomes gets back next season. And they lose some talent as well in the offseason, a lot of secondary talent going by the wayside to new teams. So secondary might be a thing that they address here. They can also use a guy like Ruben Bain. They could.
Just throwing this out here. This is not my opinion. This is one of the opinions of the ESPN guys, with mock drafts. Kenyon Sadiq, tight end out of Oregon as the next tight end for the Chiefs. I wanted to throw that out there.
They just signed Kelsey to a 3-year extension, keep in mind.
Is Kelsey going to be there for 3 years?
Knowing him, he probably will be.
Personally, I think he's done after this year. Which is why I didn't hate this idea.
I don't mind it, but I don't love him at number 9. I think he'll fall further in the draft. And the Chiefs have a second pick as well in this first round. So why risk that?
This is not my opinion. I just wanted to bring that out there before I talked. But back to, you look at some of the DBs you can get. I think the guy at LSU could be one you look at.
Downs could be here too.
Downs could be here as well. So I'm looking at those 2 guys for sure. I don't really know if the next corner really on here. I mean, you got the guy McCoy out of Tennessee. I just don't know if he goes that high. One of the things to watch, and you'll wait to see, does the Chiefs go offense still? And do they go wide receiver?
I have one guy written down here I saw on a mock draft earlier, and Jordan Tyson.
Jordan Tyson is a great wide receiver. Him and Cardinal Tate. Cardinal Tate's still there, right? You have a lot of questions about Rashid Rice. A lot of questions of can he stay on the field with health and then with off the field issues. There's tons of those questions, and we just don't know. And you don't know as a Chiefs, you need that guy. Worthy is a good, gadget guy. He's a great speedster, but he's not a number one option. And, you could make the case that they could use a wide receiver here at 9.
I could see it. I won't mind that at all. They need a receiver and they need explosive defensive line. That's their biggest two needs for me right now for the Kansas City Chiefs, because they're kind of in that middle year right now, that gap year between competing again.
And
so they're trying to figure something out.
Sorry to interrupt, but you can there's a lot of good edge in this draft.
Oh, 100%.
I think they can get somebody later
Yeah.
with the edge, someone who can still contribute to the team.
I agree. Let's talk about defense. Let's talk about a team who needs a lot of defense and has for 5 years but has yet to address defense. The Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
What are we doing? We keep trying to tell you that you need to have a defense to compete at the highest level, and they continue to not listen.
You know what? What's crazy is that I could still see them go offensive line. Because I think they
still need it.
They still need offensive line help. And if I'm being honest, it's either, for me, it's Bain. Because I think Bain may drop this far.
Bain or Styles here.
Or Styles, if Styles gets this far. I think that's where you have to go. That third guy, the third offensive lineman could go here as well. But I think you're right. You have to go deep. Shamar Stewart's just not working out.
I mean,
you lose Trey Hendrickson.
The Bengals added 3 guys on defense in the offseason, and Brian Cook, Boye Mafe, and Jonathan Allen. So I guess they did their dirty work on defense already. According to them, at least. The Bengals signed 3 guys on defense, and that's like a new world record.
Yeah, I don't. I question their secondary too.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, I could see, of course, the McCoy from Tennessee going here as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, anything to help them defensively. I think they could still go offense tackle, but if I'm putting money on the line, I'm saying a defensive pick.
I wrote down one word for their need, and it was just defense. They just simply need defense. The Bengals have to surround a defense to Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow he needs some O-line. So the Bengals need to go heavy defense with a sprinkle of O-line as well.
Of course, yeah. So
that'll be your top 10 picks for the NFL Draft Preview. We'll get into picks 11 through 20 next week. Some similar teams will be on there as well. We'll get into that next week, but until next time, this is the UIndy Studios NFL Draft Preview. And don't forget to join us on April 23rd at 7:30 Eastern for our NFL Draft Livecast, the 3rd annual NFL Livecast with UIndy Studios. I'll be your host. We'll have Nate on the show as well, amongst a bunch of other guys as we go through picks 1 through 32 live as they happen. Make sure to join us then, April 23rd, 7:30.